I am Yosanni Torres. I am the Animal Care Supervisor at Zoo Miami for the Australia section, and I am also the Vice Coordinator for the Tree Kangaroo SSP program.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so if you're following me on social media at all, and if you're not, what the heck is wrong with you? It's at Rossifari everywhere or at Rossifari Pod on TikTok. Then you know that this is a very special week because it is the Safe Tree Kangaroos of Papua New Guinea Crunch-A-Thon. It happens every year, and you'll get to see tree kangaroos from all around the world crunching on their food and being adorable doing it. And there's voting that happens and all kinds of cool stuff. And it's to raise awareness for tree kangaroos. And then it leads up to World Tree Kangaroo Day. And so despite the fact that I have like a solid dozen episodes that I still have banked from my recent trip, I knew we had to do something special for tree kangaroos. And so I reached out to my good friend, Yosanni Torres, who is at Zoo Miami and who is one of the just amazing tree kangaroo people that I've become involved with as I've gotten involved with the SAFE program and went to the tree kangaroo workshop and all of the things, right? So, Yosanni is an awesome human, and I'm so excited to share her with y'all. We literally recorded this episode earlier today, and I'm mixing it tonight, and it'll be out tomorrow. So, yay, doing things quickly for tree kangaroos. Right, but that's the kind of, the reason we're doing this episode, but also I wanted to do this as a reminder to y'all that Animals Anonymous has the Tree Kangaroo fundraiser going with artwork based on my photo of my heart tree kangaroo, Paya. And you can check that out by going to any of the Animals Anonymous social media pages or their website, or just check my stories because I keep linking to it. They also have some amazing Binturong stuff out right now that's also based on one of my photos, and that also benefits conservation, which is something I'm really passionate about. So go give Animals Anonymous all of your money. And on top of that, make sure that you're really keeping your eyes open for the Crunch-A-Thon. I want this to be the biggest one ever, and I think it really has the potential to be so. So go watch, like, comment, share, do all the things, because you'll actually be helping out the tree kangaroos that you like the most. So yeah, pretty cool opportunity to help your favorite tree kangaroos. And then last but not least, before we get to the interview, I do need to drop a quick reminder. Only a couple days left for me to fill my group for the potential Ecuador sea turtle conservation trip that I mentioned. So all you have to do, if you're even slightly interested just in helping me out, go and sign up for the WhatsApp group. We're not spammy. It's not going to be a ton of stuff. Not going to share your information with anyone else. But that's what will get the trip to the next level. So I will have that link in my stories, and you can click on it and join the group. It will make a huge difference to making this trip actually happen. So with all of that said, it's time to get to it. We do talk about a few other animals, but let's be honest, this one is all about celebrating the tree kangaroos with my good friend Yosanni Torres of Zoo Miami. Welcome. And we are obviously here today to talk about all the things and you, but mostly tree kangaroos, as we are both rather obsessed with them. And so let's start off talking about how you like got your career going and what led you to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So fresh out of high school, I went to college in Gainesville trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Naturally, I was like, I want to be a vet. But then I ended up meeting a coworker when I was working at PetSmart who taught me about the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo program, which is an AZA accredited teaching zoo in Gainesville, Florida. And she's like, have you ever considered zookeeping? And I was like, well, no, but that sounds pretty cool and I'll give it a shot. So I ended up joining the program. I graduated in 2014 and I never looked back. It was an absolutely incredible program. It definitely opened my eyes to a lot of the things that I didn't know about zoos. Shortly after graduating, I started an elephant internship. And then I got hired on as an Australian keeper at Zoo Miami, which is my home zoo. And I've been there for 11 years.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So you've really had a straightforward path.
Yes.
And I noticed that, you mentioned that you were at the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo and they have tree kangaroos there. So is that where that love started, or did you already know about them, or what?
Absolutely. So I had never heard of a tree kangaroo before I started the program. So I had started working with them in one of my senior semesters at the teaching zoo. And I thought they were super unique, very, very cute. I definitely developed a love for them there. Our general curator at the time, Kathy Russell, who was the coordinator for the Tree Kangaroo SSP program, had a huge passion for them. And she taught us so much about them and definitely shared how amazing they are. So then I ended up working with them in my first position at Zoo Miami in the Australia section. I was like, I've worked with these guys a little bit before, but I ended up getting to work with them a little bit closer, and I fell in love with them. They're just so unique, and honestly, I don't think there's anyone that can meet a tree kangaroo that wouldn't fall in love because they're absolutely adorable.
Truth.
Very full of personality. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. And it's funny you mentioned Kathy. I remember, so we were both at the tree kangaroo workshop out in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we started off with like going around and introducing ourselves. And it felt like about a third of the room was there specifically because they went to that school and Kathy made them fall in love with tree kangaroos.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She's like our tree kangaroo guru. She's absolutely incredible. And like I said, she's so full of passion, and it's very, very hard not to feel the same way. She just has a way of teaching people that definitely helps you develop such a appreciation for the natural world in general, but definitely tree kangaroos. We're all very biased, but yes, she is what has started this passion, and we've kind of taken it and run with it. So yeah, very cool. So so you've been at Miami basically the whole time, and you said it's your home zoo, so you like Miami born and bred kind of thing. Yes. So I was born here in Miami, grew up raised here almost my whole entire life. I came to the zoo as a kid. I have a ton of pictures of me at the zoo, looking at the elephants and the camels and all of that. I was here all the time. And so it was just so full circle to start off as a kid, just admiring the animals and basically developing that love for animals. And then working as a zookeeper that I don't know, like when I was younger, I used to like stare at the zookeepers and be like, wow, that's really, really cool. Like, how do they do that? And now I'm in that role, which is pretty crazy to think about,
that's awesome.
Actually.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when did you go into a like leadership position at the zoo?
So I started as an animal care supervisor about, like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, cool.
I was about like 4 or 5 years into my my keeper job in the Australia section. And then they did a bunch of restructuring, and there was a position that opened up, and I applied for it, and I was like, well, now I'm stuck with the tree roos.
That's awesome. I'm curious, is it common to like move up in the same like area at the zoo there?
Typically, yeah. I feel like a lot of zookeepers kind of find their niche like in zoos. So, we've developed an appreciation for all the animals that we work with, but I can definitely say, even though we say we don't have favorites, we definitely have favorites. And so a lot of times it is very common for keepers to kind of like experience a lot of different animals and kind of get a taste for it. And then they'll find something that they really, really like. And typically you'll kind of stay in an area for a few years. And once you've gained that experience, if a position opens up, you apply for it. And that's kind of how you start that process. But yeah.
That's cool. Was it tricky for you to suddenly be in a like leadership position over people that you had been coworkers with, the day before?
Absolutely. I will definitely be the first person to say that that is not an easy transition. You go from kind of being at that like equal level to now you're expected to have the answers or you're the one coordinating things. So it is very challenging to try to find the balance with that. People that I worked with like hand in hand, now I'm the one delegating and all that. So there is definitely a challenging component to that and people kind of adjusting to that part. I will definitely say that we had a lot of I don't want to say like conflict, but more just trying to figure each other out in our new roles and for my new role and trying to balance being able to make sure that they felt like their opinion mattered and that they had a voice, and that even though I'm technically the supervisor, that I would still be very, very open to basically to make sure that their opinions are heard and that they're able to implement their ideas, and that I would be supportive of them in my role, but still being able to show them that I could lead the team and that they could trust in me to make the right decisions for the animals and for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm endlessly fascinated by leadership, and I'm frequently in various leadership roles. In my other career, be it a music director or a director or whatever, often working with people who are then sometimes later on my music director, or we had been friends and complaining about the last music director together, and now I am that or whatever. And finding that balance has always been very, tricky. It's really important, but it's definitely tricky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so hard, especially working with living things, It's very different, that typical like supervisor and employee roles like in a desk job, but now you throw living things into the mix and nothing is very black and white. Everything is so gray area, and there's so many different factors that you have to look at when you're taking care of animals. It's very challenging.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really cool. So I'm curious. So we officially met at the Tree Kangaroo workshop, but we had met digitally because we've been working on the Crunch-A-Thon for the last couple of years together now. And we'll talk more about all of that. But I'm trying to remember, but I don't think you were there when I came and barged in and met your tree kangaroos, were you?
No.
I feel like you would remember.
I would have remembered, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't think so. I didn't think you were there that day. No, actually, I know you weren't because Ron told me I was supposed to meet you and interview you. So for those listening, Ron McGill, who obviously needs no introduction, when he did the podcast, when I was down at Zoo Miami, at the end of our time was like, where do you want me to drop you off? And I was like, take me to tree kangaroos because I am obsessed with them. And he was like, are you really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, have you ever met one? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, let's get you to meet our tree kangaroos. And I was like, ah. And he mentioned to me that he knew you well and that I should have this Yosanni Torres person on the podcast at some point. And then you weren't there. And he just kind of, in a very Ron McGill way, like found staff and was like, hey, take this guy back. And they were like, okay, we're on lunch right now, but like, come back in an hour or whatever. And so I did, and it was great. And I got to meet the tree kangaroos that were there at the time, and everyone was very lovely. But they were like, you could have, if you like reach out, we can like plan things better next time. And I was like, no, I wasn't planning on this. Ron was just like, go have a tree kangaroo. And I was like, okay. So, which is very Ron McGill.
I love that. That is awesome. He's so charismatic, honestly. Like, he has so much personality. And he just has this way of connecting with people. He's funny. I'm so glad that your first experience coming out to the zoo, like, oh, and seeing the tree kangaroos was coordinated through Ron, because I'm sure that must have been a hoot, honestly.
It was amazing. Yeah, no, it was incredible. And it was still like fairly early in the podcast. I wasn't used to just getting like thrown at animals yet. And I was like, okay, this works. So yeah.
Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah, that was great. It was great. So, and I remember that there were 2 treeroos there at the time who I met. And I know that one of them is your heart tree kangaroo. So can you go ahead and tell us about him a little bit?
Yes. So you're talking about Banyan, and Banyan is, how can I say it? He's definitely my heart and soul. There is always an animal or a few very special animals in your career, in the zoo field, that will touch your heart forever and teach you so much. And for me, that was Banyan. He was such a unique tree kangaroo in the sense that he was very tractable. He was very naturally curious and very engaged when it came to interacting with him and doing training. I had never experienced that with a tree kangaroo before. They're a very naturally skittish species, so it takes a long time to get them to want to come up to you or take food from you, or even like approach the big scary thing that is a crate that you're trying to teach them is okay and
Right.
they'll kill you. But Banyan was just so curious all the time. And so he was one of the first tree kangaroos that I ended up working with at Zoo Miami besides Zaina. And I was tasked with doing a lot of his training, and he taught me so very much. I learned a lot from him. He taught me a lot of the process of breeding with the tree kangaroos. He was the individual that I had to introduce to Zaina, and I got to learn from that experience. He taught me how to be very, very patient when it comes to tree kangaroos in training. I did my first voluntary blood draw behavior with him, which was fantastic. At the time, there weren't a lot of tree kangaroos that did that in the population. And so being able to work with him so closely and get him to trust me enough to let a vet go behind him and poke him in the tail to get a blood sample was truly such an incredible experience. And I had attended a tree kangaroo workshop for the first time in Germany back in 2018. And that was during the time that I had developed such a close relationship with Banyan. So much so that I was excited to go to this first workshop for the first time. And on top of that, I was going to meet a whole bunch of tree kangaroo professionals. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a tree kangaroo tattoo. So I actually have him on my arm.
Nice.
And so he will be with me forever. We lost him about a year and a half ago. He was an older individual, but yeah, no, I'll carry him with me forever. He was perfect. What can I say?
That's awesome. Yeah, I am. So I have the art that is the Rossifari logo as my only tattoo right now, which includes a tree kangaroo. But I think my next piece, well, I already know my next piece is going to be kind of a tribal tree kangaroo thing. Actually, from the safari park, they have this sign hanging there that's just so cool.
Yes.
And I'm going to just
awesome.
Steal it. Yes, because it's fantastic.
Love it.
So yeah, that's so cool. I love how pretty much everyone that I've met in the tree kangaroo realm has their heart tree kangaroo, you know, and like for me it's Paya. And
She's so pretty.
She's so pretty. And I watched her grow up. Like I was up, you know, at Roger Williams, from before you could see her. And they told me in private that she was, you know, a jelly bean in mom's pouch all the way through every stage of it. And it was just so cool. And, yeah, I love her so much. And that's why when it came time for the Animals Anonymous fundraiser that we're doing right now, I didn't solicit because I knew everybody was just going to want their tree kangaroo. And I was like, screw it, I'm getting Paya stuff. I set this up and it'll just be everybody voting for their own favorite. I'm just doing this.
Honestly, that was the best decision because we would have absolutely battled it out for who gets to be on the show. I
mean, all the conversations were like really positive, but also very focused. Like so many people were messaging me like, we're like, what tree kangaroo is it going to be? I was like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. We'll figure it out. And I was just like, no, we're not doing this. Everybody wanted theirs, but you know.
I love that.
So
well,
great.
It came out perfect, honestly.
Well, thank you.
The merchandise is super pretty, and she's got a very pretty face.
She does. She's such a gorgeous girl. Yeah. I'm very excited about it. But I also remember one of the cool things about it was that just like the whole thing about like the connection with the animals was that I remember at some point during the workshop when we were talking, I mentioned that I first met Tree Ruse there, and you were like, Banyan, that's and you were like all excited. And I showed you pictures I took that day, and I know that you got a little emotional. And then when you lost a pet, I sent you some pictures of Banyan to try to cheer you up. And it's like those connections are just so cool, you know.
That made my day. That seriously made my day, honestly. Yeah. It was nice to see photos of him. That's like the worst part about zookeeping is like when you lose the animal that's like so special to you. But honestly, I think the most important thing that at least that got me through that was the fact that I was able to spend so much time with him, and being able to look back at those positive memories was great. But also, I think the biggest thing was the fact that he had touched so many people's lives, you know, like you being able to meet him, all of the kids that we did tours for, and basically like he inspired them. Remembering how much importance and how much purpose he had to his life, and being able to create that connection between people and tree kangaroos, that was enough to get me through it. Because honestly, like you want to see them like stay forever, and you know, you hope that they live forever, but you know, they're animals, they're not going to. And so that is the legacy they leave behind, and that's the legacy that he left behind. And I'm very, very happy that because of him, there are people out there, there are kids out there who actually know what a tree kangaroo is now, and they have developed an appreciation for them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like he was just like the buffest boy. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Like I have pictures of him where he looks like he's flexing.
Honestly, I mean, I'm a little biased, right? But he was so handsome in every way. I was like, Zaina, you have the most handsome boyfriend ever. Like, he was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he made cute babies too.
That's always very important, yes. And Zaina was a sweetheart, right? Now, is Zaina still around, or I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't keep track
16.
of this whole population. Oh my gosh, that's great.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a sassy old lady.
I will tell you.
She got a sweet face, but she's very sassy.
they get, I mean, some of them start life sassy, but I've spent time with a few of the older ones now, and yeah, they get sassy. They become that old sassy lady, which I just love.
I know, it's fantastic.
I feel like the guys that I've gotten to know that are older are all just like derpy as they get older. They're just like,
chill,
oh, yeah, like whatever, dude. And then the girls are all just like,
they just get angry.
Yeah, just grouchy, just crotchety old women. I love it.
They're like, stay off my porch, like leave me alone.
So real. So, before we go to your other involvement with tree kangaroos, what other animals do you guys have there? Because I remember, and I think at the time it was the oldest in the collection, so I'm sure it's passed on. But I know that you guys had a New Guinea singing dog, which I saw for the first time, and that blew my mind. What a gorgeous animal! Yeah.
So we did have the singing dogs. They did pass away. The last female that we had, she was 16 when she passed away. We don't have singing dogs anymore, but they are such a cool species, honestly. And I think the best thing about walking into Australia was hearing the howling. That was like the best thing ever. Then we had dingoes, but we don't have any canids at the moment. But we do have kind of a random assortment. So we do have the Australia building that has the tree kangaroos. We've got wombats on one side. Then we have a southern cassowary on the other side. And then the other part to our area is the Galapagos tortoises. So we take care of them just because they're closest to us. We have the Australian aviary that has the lorikeets that people can feed. And then I also take care of the warhogs, the babirussas, the Red River hogs, and the warty pigs. So we call that Pig Alley.
Nice. Yosanni, we got to talk about what Australia means, though, because
I know,
you're missing.
It's islands, actually.
Oh, fair. Okay.
That's what, yeah.
That's fair.
It's a theme. It's a theme.
No, that works. I like that. It's a good variety. And I know you all used to have, so you had the singing dogs, you had dingoes. You had koalas for a while, right?
Yes. Yeah, so we did. We've had koalas for many years. Unfortunately, the older male that we had received over a year ago, he passed away. So right now we're on a waiting list to receive another koala. They have a very small population, so it's kind of hard, but we're waiting and hopefully we'll be receiving one soon.
Oh, that's cool. I'm glad that you
In
guys
the
want
near
to
future.
kind of stay in that realm. Because
Yeah.
I got to tell you, like, I remember showing up and walking into this building with tree kangaroos and koalas together, and that's a good combo. That's
Yes,
a real good combo.
it's too much cuteness,
Yeah.
honestly.
So real, so real. Very cool. So you're involved with tree kangaroos through the SSP as well.
Yeah.
And so how did you get involved with that, and what is that like? Because that's a small population.
Yeah, it definitely comes with its challenges. Joining the TKSSP, I guess I'll kind of rewind. So, when I attended my first workshop in 2018, just to basically learn more about tree kangaroos, so they cover a variety of topics in these workshops. So, husbandry training, enrichment, all sorts of things on how to take care of tree kangaroos and any current research that's happening. And I got to meet, at the time, the tree kangaroo coordinator for the SSP program. I got to meet Lisa DeBeck, who is the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program Director, who is absolutely incredible, and a lot of other tree kangaroo experts from a bunch of different facilities around the world. And I just talked to them as much as possible and I picked their brain and I was just so excited. And fortunately, the tree kangaroo people are some of the most genuine, down to earth, good-hearted people ever, and so they did not mind me bombarding them with questions. And it was really great that they allowed me to just keep in touch with them even afterwards, and we formed a lot of friendships. And so over the years, I've reached out many times to try to see like what I can help with, if there were any projects that were happening, if there was a way for me to get involved, and just be helpful to the program in any way. I kept up with Kathy, who I went to school with. She was one of my teachers, and she's a long time mentor of mine. Um, and basically, just by keeping up with them over the years, I developed a lot more knowledge about tree kangaroos, and I was able to provide them with a lot of information from my side, so pictures, videos, behavioral data, all sorts of things like that. And then I saw when Kathy retired, they had posted the tree kangaroo SSP coordinator position, which Davianne, the stud bookkeeper, has filled in that role, and she is absolutely incredible. And then the vice coordinator position opened up, and I was like, I really want to be a part of this team. This is kind of a dream of mine, and I really, really want to be involved. So I applied, and fortunately, I was able to land the role. And it has been such a huge learning experience for me. Population management is something that I had been exposed to in school, but didn't know super in depth. It's like a whole other language, honestly. Um, so basically, the role of the SSP is actually Ron McGill puts it best. It's like an eHarmony for animals. Basically, like a breeding plan network for animals. And so you look at all of the ages and the genetics and all of these different components, and we try to match up breeding pairs and see who pairs up the best with individuals all across the United States. And we try to make recommendations to pair them up. We also assist facilities with being able to be successful with their breeding programs, or if they're just holding facilities, which they have, tree kangaroos on display, then we also help them with the educational component of things and being able to interpret about tree kangaroos to the public. There's a lot of different things we cover. We also do a lot of research projects, which Diana, our endocrinology advisor on the tree kangaroo management program, she's fantastic and she's a wealth of knowledge, and she always has all of these research projects that are ongoing. One of the biggest ones is our diet and browse analysis study, which she will talk about.
Oh, she has. She's been on the
Yeah,
podcast riffing about it for a long time. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. So definitely recommend watching that. But yeah, she's incredible, and it's projects like that we cover in being able to try to improve the care of the tree kangaroos in zoos in North America. And it also teaches us a lot about tree kangaroos in general, and we're able to apply a lot of that knowledge to being able to be helpful to the tree kangaroos in the wild as well. So.
Yeah, which is awesome. That's very important stuff. And so I'm curious. So you're also, it's such a unique thing. I mean, I say I'm curious, but I already know the answer, but my audience is probably curious. But also we mentioned that like we work on the Crunch-A-Thon together, which is currently running right now. So make sure you're following at Tree Kangaroo Safe on Instagram and Facebook to see lots of cute videos. But so that's through the SAFE program, not the SSP, but
yes.
The SSP and the SAFE seem to have a connection much stronger than they do with other animals. And so can you talk about that approach and kind of, if you know, how that all came about?
Yes. So the Tree Kangaroos of Papua New Guinea SAFE program started in 2020. There is a huge overlap. So the SAFE program, the focus is on in situ conservation. So field conservation work, field partners, and the way SSP kind of works hand in hand with them is we've tried to strengthen the relationships between the AZA facilities and the in situ conservation and field partners out there. I think that's like the simplest way that I can put it. There's a lot of overlap because the tree kangaroo SSP held a huge role in assisting with the start of the tree kangaroo conservation program that Lisa directs. And so through that evolution over the years, the tree kangaroo conservation program and the tree kangaroo species survival program have worked hand in hand over many years. And when the SAFE programs were developed, which was AZA's way of really diving into those conservation field efforts, it kind of just organically grew into something that the TKCP and the TKSSP had already been working on for very many years. And we basically just plugged in all of those things and made like a whole structure to it. So the Tree Kangaroos of Papua New Guinea SAFE program is divided up into 5 working groups. So you have your Sustainable Populations Working Group, which I co-lead with Kathy Russell. Then we have our Education and Awareness Working Group. We have a Research Working Group. We have a One Health Working Group. And then we have a Conservation Commerce Working Group. And so that's kind of how it's all broken down. And so those are the 5 different elements that we look at when it comes to those partnerships.
Yeah, it's a really interesting structure, different than any other SAFE program that when we were setting up Safe Red Panda, I was investigating as many as I could and reading program plans and how they're all split up. And none of them that I found are split up quite like Tree Kangaroo, nor as intertwined with the SSP as Tree Kangaroo, which I think is great. I know that Lisa refers to it as a holistic approach. And I think that's very cool. Like even just when you talk about a sustainable population group in the SAFE, like that's not a super common type of group. That's almost more an SSP thing for sustainable populations, ex situ, and then conservation group in situ. But there's just the whole, I think that's very cool. It's a neat approach.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When we talked about the role of the Sustainable Populations Working Group, we sat there for a while trying to break down what that would look like. And so the best way to put it was we looked at, okay, what does a sustainable population, what is it comprised of? And then we started talking about, okay, like what creates a sustainable population? The health of the population in the wild, but also the population that we have in zoos. We talked about the research that goes hand in hand with that to be able to ensure that your collection is healthy and sustainable. It's so interesting because when we started to go through all the little things that makes a sustainable population, we're like, oh, this is like literally encompassing everything. So how do we further break it down? Because we already have working groups that focus on health. We already have a working group that focuses on research and all of these different things. So when we looked at the Sustainable Populations Working Group, we focus more on being a support group to the other working groups. So being able to, which the Sustainable Populations Working Group is mostly made up of the tree kangaroo SSP management team and Lisa and Beth. Basically, it is a supportive role to the other working groups, and we also focus on what we can do to help the uh, field partner that we have in Papua New Guinea. So the facility that focuses on rescue and rehabilitation, because obviously to have a sustainable population in zoos, we need to make sure that we are able to bring in animals to be able to maintain genetic diversity. So it's something that we call founders. So just new genetics into the population. And with such a small population, that becomes very impossible. So it's very hard for us to pair all of these animals, and at some point, the relatedness of the individuals becomes a challenge for us. And so getting those new genetics into the population in the US is extremely important for us to keep the population going. And so there is, like I said, a rescue and rehab center in Papua New Guinea at the Port Moresby Nature Park, which is the only zoo of its kind in Papua New Guinea. And so they have a program there where they have an off-site center where they're able to bring in tree kangaroos that have been rescued from different captive situations. So the illegal wildlife trade, or individuals that have been that are joeys that maybe their moms were killed for bushmeat, and all different situations like that. Some are part of like entertainment situations, some living in hotels as kind of like a touristy type of thing.
That one blew my
So
mind. The one that was in
I
the hotel
know
that we talked about at the workshop. I was like, what is going on? But yes, but
yeah,
go ahead. But I mean, my God.
it's crazy, and it is very sad to see the photos. Like, some of these tree kangaroos are coming from some pretty bad living situations. And so the Sustainable Populations Working Group was able to secure an AZA SAFE grant towards being able to support this facility and provide funding for these rescues that are coming into the park. And so that helps the individuals that are in these captive scenarios. But in turn, it does help us with our population in the US, because any joeys that are born when these individuals are bred at the nature park are able to be imported. And so that's one of the things that we're working on right now. So there is a female that we have been in the process of attempting to import into the US for almost 3 years now. It is a very complicated process, but it is finally coming to fruition. So, we are much further along in the process of being able to import her, and hopefully that will bolster our population here in the US, and she'll be able to breed. And yeah, that's how we create a sustainable population.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
now
kind of
that,
like the overlap that SSP and
yeah,
SAFE
which I
have.
love. I noticed that you like halfway through that you were talking about the SAFE program, and then you were like, and in the SSP, and it was like one thing, which is just really cool that, because yeah, it's the same people doing the same work, and
Literally,
yeah.
it's hard to kind of be like, okay, this is what SAFE is and this is what SSP is, and I'm like, but it's literally the same thing, because it's all the same people that are working on the same objectives. And so I feel like that's what makes the Tree Kangaroo program so unique, is that it all just kind of like fluidly works together.
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
yeah.
which is very cool and is really a beautiful thing. And so yeah, so that's such a great example. And I'm curious, so this tree kangaroo that will hopefully be coming to the country soon, and I don't know if we're allowed to say where, but we know where. It already has a home. We just need to get it there.
Mhm.
Do you think that once she is here, this will become an easier process, or is this going to be 3 to 4 years for every tree kangaroo that we try to do this with?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think in some ways it'll be easier, because we will have gone through the process, and a lot of the very difficult logistics will have been somewhat figured out. So I mean, the hardest thing, besides being able to create an MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding with the Papua New Guinea government, which Lisa has been able to help establish, which is absolutely incredible. That's kind of like the first hump in the in the process.
Right.
But just the transfer itself. So like, transporting an animal from New Guinea all the way to the US and trying to find an airline that can accommodate that, trying to find the best route for this individual because that's such a long transport. So trying to find the best way possible to get that animal here in a smooth fashion, even though it's a really long journey, to ensure that the animal does not have to endure more stress than it needs to. Those are all logistics that we're trying to figure out. And honestly, just from what I've heard, because I'm not the one doing that process, just trying to find the flights in general is very difficult. And the routes and everything, it's pretty complicated. So I think those logistics will be much easier for future individuals. What isn't so easy is it's kind of dependent on the tree kangaroos that are born at the nature park. That is kind of what will determine who we can import, how much time between, like, in that process. So that's why one of the things that we're focusing on is the success of the breeding center at the nature park, because for the breeding process, you put your tree kangaroos together and it's a whole 2-year process before you can actually separate the juvenile from mom. So you're waiting 2 years just for that individual to grow up and be old enough to separate and then be able to transfer them to the US. So that depends on the success that they're having over there and the numbers of joeys that they have born there. So that's something that we are in constant communication with the Port Moresby Nature Park, is just kind of seeing how their breeding program is, trying to be supportive in any way possible. So if they have questions or if they're encountering any challenges with their breeding success, that we're able to provide them with as much information as possible, and being able to provide recommendations based on kind of what they're telling us. So one of the exciting things that we got to start this past year was we started a Zoom platform to be able to communicate with the keepers at the Port Moresby Nature Park. And it was the first ever Zoom collaboration that we had with AZA facility and New Guinea, to just kind of talk about challenges and be able to have them ask questions. And we had a whole bunch of different keepers from different facilities across the US that joined in on the conversation, and they were able to provide their perspectives and their different experiences to try to help as much as possible. So they'll describe to us their setup and what their challenges are, and then we just try to be like, okay, have you tried this or that? And so it's a very, very amazing way to connect with them, but also to see them overcome a lot of those challenges that they're having out there. So
that's
really
a
cool
cool
question.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool. I mean, it's such a unique, like, it feels to me like such a lifeline, because we have a small population. Mm-hmm. We have like 42 animals right now in the States.
We have 37.
37.
Yeah.
I thought it was in the 40s. I think you lying to me. I
wish.
No, okay, yeah. So I mean, every new one is going to be a huge, deal. Mm-hmm. And just to, you said this like twice, but I'm even going to triple down on it. The animals that would be coming to the States are born in human care, so they can't be released into the wild. And they will be the offspring of the rescues. It's not like the rescues are then being flown across the world to, so it's just to make it super clear that is where this new founder population will be coming from. And I think that's very important. Obviously we're not just pulling tree roos out of the wild and throwing them into zoos, because we don't do that. But yeah, I love that so much of the work is being done directly in country and at Port Moresby. And obviously, the team has great connections there. And JP, who runs the place, is in every safe meeting ever and is super involved and very, very cool guy. Yeah, so it's so cool. Yeah, he's actually mentioned a couple times that we should do an episode, but we haven't been able to schedule it yet. But I very badly want to.
Yes.
Now, have you been? Oh, please! I'm half the problem, because their schedule is obviously that's half a world away. It's tricky. But have you been out there yet?
Communicate with them.
It is. It is.
Yeah. The time difference is just being able to communicate with them. It's interesting because I'll reach out to him during the day here, and then it's like literally the next day because he'll answer me at night here, and then I'll see it the next day. So just the time challenge in general, it's hard. Um, to answer your question, yes, I have been fortunate enough
Oh,
to visit Papua New Guinea. That is something I would have never expected to visit ever. Because usually when you talk to marsupial people or anyone that works in like an Australia area, Australia is kind of like that focus, and you're like, yeah, yeah, one day I'll visit Australia. I didn't know anything about New Guinea before I started working with tree kangaroos. I was like, New Guinea, where even is that?
real.
And so meeting the tree kangaroo community, I have learned so much. And an opportunity opened up to be able to do a shared learning experience with the keepers in the Port Moresby Nature Park. So through a project initiated by the Tree Kangaroo Safe and TKCP with Lisa, myself and Amanda from Woodland Park Zoo, we were able to go and visit the Port Moresby Nature Center in Papua New Guinea and work alongside the keepers and just learn as much as possible from them. So we brought a lot of resources from our zoo. Our zoos, we brought like flash drives, like full of information and all the things that we know from the research we've done here in the US, and just kind of like threw that all at them and tried to do like a mini workshop where we tried to teach them everything that we know, and in turn they taught us a lot of stuff about the wild population. They taught us a lot about their culture. I want to emphasize, and this might be a little bit sidetracking here, but I want to emphasize that a lot of times when you visit a zoo, everything is themed around Australia, and the focus is on, Australian themed everything. But the culture in New Guinea is so unique. There are, I think, 1,000+ tribes in New Guinea. New Guinea is a remote area that is so underdeveloped. You have to hike through mountains for days to get anywhere you want to go. But the biodiversity out there is truly incredible. It's one of the last intact rainforests that we have in the whole world. And honestly, just the culture and the people are absolutely incredible. And I think more people need to learn about New Guinea. I think more people need to like hear the stories that come from it, because when I was over there, I was just in awe. There's like 800 different languages, and it blew my mind that people could even meet up at some point and try to like communicate with each other. It truly was its own melting pot. And so I thought that was amazing. And there's a quote by Lisa that says, she said, it was the tree kangaroos that brought her to New Guinea, but it was the people that made her stay. And when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's adorable. Like that's amazing. It took me going over there to experience it that I completely understood, because obviously I went over there being like, all right, I want to see all the tree kangaroos that I possibly can. When I met the people, they're so genuinely nice and so willing to share so much knowledge and stories with you, and they are truly so interested in hearing your stories as well. Connecting with the people out there was absolutely incredible, and I want to go back and I want to visit them again, because it's such a beautiful place. It really is.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've been bugging Lisa to take me. I'm like, come on, I'll take pictures and videos and share stories, and like, just take me once and I will get content for years, I promise. And yeah. At one point, I think I brought it up enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to stop bugging you. She's like, no, I would take you immediately. It's just a money thing, but like, it's cool. But I actually felt bad, because I was just like, take me. How about now? Can we go now? No, now, tomorrow?
You're like, I'll go in your luggage.
Yeah, seriously. Let's go. So
it's awesome. Yeah.
It's such a cool group.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's such a cool group how everyone's connected, and like all of the tree kangaroo people, and like, yeah, like I've learned so much about Papua New Guinea. I know more about the geography of Papua New Guinea than I do really any country except for the US. And I really only know the stuff in the US because I tour, because heaven knows my geography education wasn't, up to snuff.
I'm the worst at that.
And so, yeah, so that's such a cool experience. So we are getting to the end of our interview. But I did want to just we're talking about the community so much and how tight knit it is, and so I'm curious what your first experience was like, because obviously my audience got to listen to my first tree kangaroo workshop, which became an episode and which ended with you and me and a couple of other people crushing a couple of video games in a barcade one night, which was so much fun, and like
Best
singing
night of
along
my
to the
life.
songs. Oh my God, that was so much fun. I'm like, did Yosanni and I just become best friends? I think we just became best friends.
Yes, and we are the Ninja Turtles.
I know. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. But so what was it like? Because you went all the way to Germany to meet all of these people, and I'm curious what your experience was like. And were you nervous? Were you excited? Like, what was it?
Oh yeah, no. So that was actually my first like official zoo workshop.
That's a
and I went
big
all the,
one. Wow.
Yeah. I am truly grateful that I was able to go. I really, really wanted to learn more about the animals that I was working with, and so zookeepers are always applying to go to these workshops, and it was an international symposium, and I was like, I really, really, really want to learn from these people, and I found out that Lisa was going, so I was like, okay, I really have to go to this. And so I applied to go. I got denied originally, and I could totally understand why. It's quite the journey. But I kept kind of pushing. I was like, oh, trying to find different ways to get funding and all that stuff. And so fortunately, I was able to go. I was very nervous. One, for the travel on my own and trying to figure out where I was going. But two, being able to meet what I considered these experts that I look up to so much. And I was just, I think, like in awe and just very nervous, because I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to all these people that like know like so much. And I was like, I don't want to sound silly or anything like that. But I quickly learned that they're just so open to like people who want to learn. And like I said, the community is amazing. I fangirled it when I walked into a room and saw Lisa for the first time. I think I literally started to tear up, and I remember that I remember that moment where she was like, "Oh, you're so cute." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're like the Steve Irwin of Tree Roos. Like, get out of here."
I keep calling her the Jane Goodall of tree kangaroos. Yeah. It's so real.
Pretty much.
So real.
I was like, I can't believe I'm in the same room with her. And like I said, at first I was very nervous. I sat there super quiet. I was like, I'm just gonna listen. But as they were talking, it became such a nice conversation, and it was so like fluid between everyone, just like sharing ideas, that I started to open up, and I learned so much, and I asked a lot of questions, and yeah, it was truly an amazing experience. And when I came back, I wanted to share with my zoo so much that I had learned. I was like, we got to implement this and that. And I was like, I saw this on a presentation. I just bombarded everyone with all the stuff that I learned. And they're like, whoa, okay, one step at a time. And I was like, okay, but there's like so many things that we need to do. So yeah, no, it was an incredible experience. And I've been able to go to every single workshop after that. And it's really nice to meet up with people that, like I've already met, and kind of have a reunion. But it's also nice to see all the new faces and all the people that are learning tree kangaroos for the first time. And, they're the future of the program. So I hope to see them keep going back to the conferences and workshops. I met you, and I'm so excited that you're part of this program. Yay! Because you have been absolutely incredible with sharing about tree kangaroos, about the educational component to tree kangaroos. Like, this is vital to the program. Like, yes, there's all the work that we do behind the scenes with, like the population program, like programming and all that stuff. But a huge component is being able to generate that connection. And you have been absolutely amazing in that role and helping us get people connected to them. So I honestly appreciate you from the bottom of my heart doing this. Like, this is fantastic. So.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate that. And I love the team so much. I love it so much. I love, like, you and I have texted about random crap. Lisa and I text about random crap. You talked about tearing up, right? I debated whether to bring my copy of like the Tree Kangaroo textbook to have like her and everyone else involved sign, because I'm so glad I didn't, because that would have been extra fangirly, like you said. But now we're just friends and now we just do the thing. And like, even today, like our interview time got screwed up twice. And it's like, you had a thing going on, then I had a thing going on, but like, we're friends. We don't care. We're going to get it done and we get it done. And like, yeah, like it's so nice to be able to just have that with people that you respect. Like I remember, when Ron McGill told me about you, of everyone at that zoo, I just remember being like, oh, this must be like, this hugely important person. And did I expect us to be sitting and playing video games together while belting, songs from the 90s slightly off key? No. Were we? Yes. Was it awesome? Yes. And that's just, I love it so much, like the fact that Ron, who I look up to so much, looks up to you and respects you so much. And it's just so cool. It's all just so good.
Thank you so much.
So normally I ask for a conservation organization, but I will still have you say the names again, but gee, who do you want us to support?
Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program and the Tree Kangaroos of Papua New Guinea Safe.
Ooh, of course. And again, guys, if you're listening to this, I'm releasing this. We're recording on Monday, May 11th, and it'll be out at midnight tonight because we're in the middle of the Crunch-A-Thon right now. So make sure you're following the socials, and that's going to lead up to World Tree Kangaroo Day. So make sure you're checking out those socials. Make sure you're checking out the Animals Anonymous fundraiser that we're doing right now. All of that stuff. You can join this little Tree Kangaroo crazy community yourselves. And then last but not least, it's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
What's the limitation on this story?
Something that won't get you fired?
Okay. Okay. I guess. I do have a gross story, but like it involves like copulatory stuff. So is that like?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Literally, there is no limit from my side. I just don't want you to get in trouble. But
Okay. No. Okay. All right. So I was breeding tree kangaroos for the first time. As a young keeper, like when I had first started. And I remember we put the tree kangaroos together. They did their thing. Everything was wonderful. And then I remember being super nerdy about it. And we were trying to make sure that everything was successful, even though it seems successful when you're looking at it from a distance. But one of the ways that you're able to identify that the male was successful in his adventure is that you will typically find what we call a seminal plug or a copulatory plug. And so I had never seen that in person before. And I remember when they were done and we had separated them, I go in there to the aftermath, very messy, lots of urine, lots of poop, lots of other things.
So just like how humans do it.
And I remember finding a seminal plug for the first time. And it's basically like a plug that goes into the female to kind of keep everything in there to ensure that the male is successful and that he's able to make sure that his genetics are being, passed on.
You said that very tastefully. Nice job.
I know. I was like, it's a plug. It's a plug that goes in there when he's done. He's like, all right, you will have my babies now. And I found so after a little while, the plug will naturally kind of fall out, and it's this really gross thing. It just looks like a giant glob of stuff. And I remember finding it for the first time and being like, is this what this is? And my boss was like, yeah, that's so gross.
You were just holding it out there, weren't you?
And I was like, this is amazing. I mean, I was wearing gloves, so it's kind of okay, right? And I remember talking to Dr. Marissa Besjan, who is the One Health working group lead. She's also one of our associate veterinarians at Zoo Miami, and she's super nerdy too. And I remember like sending a picture of it to her, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, is that what I think it is?" And I was like, "It totally is." And she's like, "You got to bring it up to the hospital. We got to send it out for testing and all this stuff." And yeah, it's like me parading around with the little Seminole plug in a little plastic baggie. Like, I remember me and my keepers taking photos of it and each other with it. Like, it was so, like, you know, in hindsight, you look back on it and you're like, why was this a thing? But yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Marissa was also one of our Ninja Turtles, by the way, and it's just an incredible human. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool.
Well, thank you. Science.
Yes, that was amazing. That was so fun. That was great. Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that one, and thanks for taking the time to do this.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Like, this has been absolutely amazing, and I appreciate everything that you do. So Yay. Thank you.
You know, it's funny. I like to use the poop story as a way to, you know, end the episodes on a lighter note and to have some fun with it and all of that stuff. But as I listened back to Yosanni's story there, I couldn't help but not only appreciate how nerdy and excited she was about that gross but wonderful thing, but also just appreciated, like, how she told that story. And I know I said something while she was doing it, but like, my goodness, she phrased it all so well. And it was so educational and something that like anyone of any age could listen to. And I don't know, it really made me appreciate how amazing Yosanni is. And honestly, a lot of the people in this industry are at just sharing things in ways that everyone can connect with them and thinking on their feet to make it happen. And again, as silly as that story is and as gross and cute and all of the things that it manages to be at the same time, as I listened back, all I could think was like, dang, Yosanni's really good at this stuff, you know? And I'm so lucky to have people like that in my life. And tree kangaroos are so lucky to have people like that advocating for them and trying to save them. I mean, it's really hard to think they won't see success with that when you've got people like Yosanni Torres doing the thing. So yeah, I'm so grateful that she was on the pod and that we were able to do this little special episode. And before I get going, I also do want to say thank you to all of my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. We'll be back on Friday with the Zoo News episode, and then you know what's coming. World Tree Kangaroo Day is coming, so check out those Crunch-A-Thons, buy your stuff from Animals Anonymous, do all the things, and we'll see you here again on Friday. And until then, remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.